feel like put us above other brokerage firms. Okay. But like I was saying, so that's our mural. I like to showcase that on a continual basis. But today I'm going to talk about the thing that I believe is the most important. Now, it wasn't voted most important by the agents because we talked about that one last week. But this one right here, it is way up there. I think it came in at second or third. So they understand that it's important. But for me, it would be number one on my list for them as the broker. All right. So what I want to talk about today is the one-on-one coaching that's included, right? That's the proprietary programming that I'm going to speak about. And the reason I'm going to, so originally this concept of one-on-one coaching came from the GAT meeting. So the GAT meeting, it was uppercase G, lowercase y, uppercase A, uppercase T. And it stood for Get Your Ass on Track meeting. That was the GAT meeting. So the idea was when a new agent came into the firm, how could we best get them going? Because we know once you get into this business, you get licensed, then you don't, the clock is ticking, right? Because you got expenses, HAR, Trek, Brooks and Davis, you got expenses. So the clock is ticking. So because of that, we had these GAT meetings that was a part of our process to help get you up to speed. So you got to go through orientation, get oriented with all the things you have access to, and then you would sit with me. So that was kind of like the beginnings of us moving into being more formal with or creating a more formalized process around the one-on-one coaching. All right. So now that it's morphed into this coaching one-on-one phenomenon, now that we're pushing, I want to give you an idea of what that really is, what the one-on-one coaching is really about. So the idea or the premise is once a week, so every 7 days, you connect with me 30 minutes, and we begin going through this journey of dealing with these two models that have been designed. So originally, the Realtor Success Funnel was the model that we utilized in my training, in my development, in my coaching. It was this model right here, right? And now that I have a better understanding of success, what I found is that 80% of success is not the mechanics, which is what this funnel was, or what this talks about is the mechanics of doing a real estate transaction or the mechanics of building a real estate business. 80% of it is not mechanics. 80% of success is psychological. So as I'm coaching and I'm working with people, it's not connecting or it's not working. And the reason we know it's not working is because the production's not there. They're not producing. Like I know the stuff works because I did it, but they're not grasping it. I couldn't figure it out. Well, as I've gone through this coaching journey and as I've matured and as I've realized, again, 80% is psychological, then before we can begin dealing with the mechanics, which is the Realtor Success Funnel, there had to be a psychological component that was created for us to deal with first. And then as we dealt with the psychological component and we got past that, then we could layer on top of it the mechanics, because then now at that point there's glue and the mechanics will stick, and then that's when you see the massive execution. So we had to revamp it. So what our one-on-one coaching consists of in the beginning is dealing with this psychological success map, right? So this is it's real basic. It ain't as colorful and bright and don't have all the bells and whistles of the success funnel, but it's real basic. Because at this point, it's about the substance of it. In reality, the psychological success map is a part of the blue square element of the Realtor Success Funnel. The blue square element, in addition to tools such as HAR or SuperKey, it always contained an element of mindset, making sure that you had the right mindset before you begin trying to build this type of business, right? Well, what we realized was that we had to pull out the mindset part and we had to flesh it out and make it bigger than what we had currently made it. So that's how this psychological success map was formed. So to make a long story short, I'm gonna go briefly through the different layers of the success map. The first, everybody starts at the bottom. In any level of coaching, they all start at the bottom. And the reason I put them at the bottom is because until you deal with this first layer, which is the who are you, then you haven't even begun to put yourself on any track of success. So everybody starts at when will you start until we begin dealing with the who are you. So there are a couple of tools that we utilize in the coaching to deal with the area of who are you. One of them is a DISC profile. So DISC, if you're familiar with that, is personality style. You know, before you can begin executing in a major way, you got to understand who are you? Like, why do you make the decisions that you make? Why do you do the things or don't do the things that you do? You know, why are you not able to connect on, hey, I know this is important, my business is important, making phone calls or doing these mechanics is important, but for whatever reason, I'm not doing it and I don't quite understand why. Well, a lot of it has to do with you first understanding who are you, who is your makeup, and if you're literally trying to force yourself to be something that you're not, that you haven't been designed to be. So that first layer is dealing with the who are you, right? We use DISC profiles. We also use an interview called Model of the World. We use that. Once you identify who you are, then we deal with the what do you want, when do you want it. That's the second layer. And the way we deal with that, you know, there's a lot of people out here that they have goals they're trying to achieve. They have success that they're trying to achieve, but they haven't identified any goals. That's the what do you want. They haven't really determined what it is specifically that they want to go after. So that's what we deal with that at that layer. And then even if they have determined what they want, they haven't put a hard deadline on it. So because of that, it's easy to take their foot off the gas. To stop driving. So putting a hard deadline is key. So we deal with that. We have tools, again, that we utilize. One of them is called the life wheel, where it has 8 areas that we pull out and we gauge your level of satisfaction. We look at that, and then we also identify a goal of 6 months. We're going to put a hard deadline that we're going to go after, and we call it a stretch goal. And the reason we call it a stretch goal is because for you to achieve it, you're going to have to stretch who you are to accomplish it. You're going to have to become a better, higher version of yourself for you to be able to achieve that goal. But based on the exercises that we utilize in this area, the stretch goal is going to be designed around what you've already said is the most important thing to you, right? So that's what's going to come out of there. So once we deal with that, we have our stretch goal, then we're going to get to the third layer, which is why do you want it and how will you get it, right? So we always hear about, look, you got to have a big enough why. Your why has to be big enough. If you're going to be successful, you have to be driven by a big why. But it's one thing to hear that, and then it's another thing to understand it, right? So to internalize it, to get it inside of your physiology. So in that layer is where we really dig in and create that emotional fuel that you're going to use to drive you to being able to accomplish what you said that you want to set off to accomplish. So we do that in this level, right? And in addition, when we come through that level, the how will you get it, you will have an actual map, game plan, and effective. Matter of fact, it's going to be the most effective game plan of execution that you've probably ever seen before in your life, right? It's efficient. It provides a level of clarity that every day you'll know what you need to be literally executing on every single day to move you forward to achieving what you set out to achieve over the next 6 months. So that layer, you're going to have a physical game plan, a physical map to execute on a daily basis, right? And so now once we get through that layer, then we get to the top of the pyramid, which is where most of the people, most of the discrepancies is able to be identified. It's through the lack of consistency. right? So we see it as, well, I can't be consistent in this area, so it's because I'm not disciplined or I have a lack of self-discipline. When in reality, if we haven't dealt with these other layers under here, that's more than likely what's driving why you don't consistently drive towards achieving something something successful, right? You either don't have a clear understanding of who you are, so there's some disconnects coming in that you're not even aware of. You're in this level of unawareness of some internal things that are causing conflict. You haven't fleshed those out, either that or you haven't even clearly defined what it is specifically that you want. Yeah, I want to be a realtor, or yeah, I want to be a business owner, and yeah, I want to be successful, but you don't have any level of clarity of what that looks like or being specific. You haven't done that, or again, you haven't identified a hard deadline. So you're not driving at 157 miles an hour. You're just kind of coasting through because you don't have anything that's anywhere to get to. You don't have a destination. So you don't have a hard deadline. You don't have enough emotional fuel. You don't have a big enough why like people talk about it. Or you don't have a true game plan, true strategies or tactics that you can execute to help you achieve the goal that you've defined. So if you don't have any of that stuff, then it's no way you can be consistent in your execution. So that's why we had to deal with this part of it first, get you to a point of consistency before we can layer the mechanics on top of it, right? So now as our agents go through that process, that's when they're able to start having massive results and massive